Hello and welcome to another tutorial on the price action scanner modules. This module is going to be on the RSI scanner. So we're going to talk about relative strength index. We've already made the educational portion of it, so if you need some background history on RSI, it's right there for you. This video is going to be on using the scanner itself. This is brought to you by Trading Room. It's presented by myself, Chingas. Again, another disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. This video webinar is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. So please do your own technical analysis before placing any trades. No one wants to see anyone get wrecked. Okay, contents. Here's what we're going to talk about. The Trading Room RSI scanner, we're going to break it down, show you part by part. We're going to go through the time frames again, just like the PSA. We're going to cover 1470.30 and 785.15 as output conditions. We're going to talk about overbought and oversold, and then knowing when and how to use it effectively. So let's not waste any time. Here we go. This is what it looks like. This is the RSI scanner. Now this is just a picture of it. This is right now it live. Live in the market, working right now, the whole 9 yards. So we'll come back to this because we're going to do some examples later, but let's rifle through the slides so that you can at least understand what you're looking at. For the breakdown, as we look at it from left to right, just like the PSA, the PAS, you have your exchange right here. This is going to be that top left box. Right next to it, we've added now a watch list. So what you can do is, I'll show you live. You can go to any one of these coins. Let's say Storage ETH. I like that pair. I'm going to come over and hover over these three dots, and you'll see something that says add to watch list. Simply click it, and it'll now change to remove from watch list, which means it's been added to your watch list. So if you click on watch list, you'll see the watch list. And then it'll change to show all. Simply click back on show all, and you are back to the default display. All right, very easy, very simple. Underneath that, you have your time frames. So like the price action scanner, it goes 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute, right? And then in the hourly time frames, you got the 1, the 4, the 6, the 12, and the 24 or the daily. Next to that, on the right side of the module, up top, you see RSI 1470.30. That's this right here. And if you click on this, you have the option to use 785.15. These are different parameters for which the scanner will show you these blue lines or something like these red lines. Just got to find something that is currently in that condition, which is down here. So we're going to talk about those in a little bit, but this is the option to change it back and forth from one method to the other, so that every coin you see on here is now based off of those output parameters. All right, so we'll put that back on 70.30, and we will work our way back to the breakdown window. Next to that, of course, you have the pairings. So it's either all, Tether, BTC, or ETH. Okay, so if you hit Tether, just like on the price action scanner, once you hit it, they'll be sorted out, and then these will be the only things that'll show on there. And again, if you go to all, it'll be all pairings, and I shouldn't have to explain that for Bitcoin and ETH. It all works the same. All right, underneath that, we have what's called the D3 move, and then now this says price action, but we've since changed it since launch, and now it's live Fibo. So D3 move, like the price action scanner, where you had the option to change from 6 hours to 500 days, we have in the RSI scanner, we have defaulted it to 3 days. So a 3-day move, and this is just a quick glance what happened in the last 72 hours of trading and what is the current pullback or retrace from that move. All right, if you still want the breakdown for everything we just looked at, this in peak gains just on a different time frame, simply slide back over to the price action scanner and you can hook those up, just like D1 is set right now. And those, if I set on D3, it'll be the same exact readings that I'm showing on the RSI scanner. All right, so hope that makes sense. And then of course you have the live Fibbo, right? So that is the current retrace. So in this situation, 75% has been lost from the 221% gain that happened in the last 72 hours of trading. Okay? That is the scanner. That's how you look at it. Those are the pieces to the puzzle. When you get into the module, blue is going to be overbought, red is going to be oversold, and you'll see that right here, blue. So these are overbought because our parameters are 70-30. We've crossed over 70, and that's why they show up blue, where 30, you would need something under 30, such as 29.43 or 27.52, and then you'll get the trigger here that yes, now they're red, they're below 30. All right, let's get back into it. Time frames. So we mentioned the time frames that are available on there. So included in the scanner are the 8 time frames from 5 minute up to 1 day. It's consistent across the board with the price action scanner. Short term considered 5, 15, and 30 minute, and possibly the 1 hour, sort of like a swing. So from scalping to intraday swing trades, all the way up to longer time frames, 4, 6, 12, and 24 hours, being represented by the D for 1 day. Output conditions. So like I said, if you click on this button, you have 2 options here. Now, if you watch the other video that we talked about, the different methods and ideas between a 14 period to a 7 period to a 2 period, there's many different ways you can use RSI. The 2 periods that we've selected for the scanner are the 14 with the 70-30, basically your default RSI settings, to a more aggressive 7-85-15. Now maybe aggressive isn't the right word, but more aggressively pushed away from default, so to speak. But it does offer the idea that you'll have less false triggers by not saying something is overbought at 70 and waiting till it gets to 85. And the 7, now you're only using, if you're on the daily chart, you're using 7 days of data, the ratio high to low, in order to make that calculation for the RSI to put it on a scale. So you need to play with it, basically is what I'm saying. Play with it a little bit, see what you like using, and then change it at the press of a button. No big deal. So again, 14.7 are the periods based off the selected chart. So if you're on a 1 hour chart and you're on the 14.7, it's based off of 14 hours, 14 periods of price action history. 70-30 and 85-15 are the visual upper and lower horizontals based off the 0 to 100 scale. And that's what you see right here. Okay, so this is an RSI that's currently set at 70 and 30. These are just visual upper and lower bands. You can put a band at 80, 85, 90, 95. It all depends on your trading style. But what I want to make clear to you is that how the scanner is going to show this blue is if you're set at 70-30, it's going to show blue once it creeps into 70. So if you're looking for that quick glance, I want to know what's going on as far as RSI is concerned, you'll be able to see it right there without having to rifle through a bunch of charts in order to see what is overbought and what is oversold. So that covers the output conditions. All right, overbought and oversold. Again, if you went through the RSI class or educational series that we have out earlier, you'll understand the many things that RSI can do. Overbought and oversold seem to be the most common uses, and it's a very good indication of trend reversal, or when a trend might be getting exhausted, or the foresight to see that a pullback could be in place or could be coming soon. It's a sort of wake up, open the chart, and let me see what's shaking, so I might be able to get a trade out of this. Now I put right here, do not live or die based on overbought, oversold conditions, but do recognize the importance of it. So ask yourself, what is this telling me? You know, what is this telling me right here? The 5 and the 15 time frames are telling me that we are well into overbought. 99, 93, right? Well into overbought territory. So a possible short-term trend reversal is good for scalps, right? So let me go back over here. While each other time frame has a lower and lower RSI, I kind of skipped right over that. So yeah, so what we're looking at here is, with these being overbought in the 5 and the 15, we would expect on those charts that price is going to start working its way back down. It's something you want to be mindful of while you look at the other time frames sitting around on the daily, sitting at 35. So if 35 is starting to work its way down, it's going to take a little while to get there. That's the daily chart, so it has to wait for another day of price action before making a big move. That 35 could be well on its way down. You already have the indication that the 5 and 15 have made their way, right? They're getting into that zone, right? They're working their way into overbought, should be heading down. So this is a chart that would be interesting to pull up and get a better idea on what is going on over here. Has this swung the other direction? Is it working its way up out of 30? Out of the zone? That's something you want to take a look at. Now this one here, you have, right, so oversold on all the longer time frames, right? You're making lower lows, right? So range, shorter time frame has the RSI coming up. So RSI is coming up in these time frames, right? So shorter time frame, 5, 15, it's coming up. But the longer time frames haven't quite gotten that push yet. So this means that you already got your move up, right? You've already got the move up on the short term, on the short time periods. The longer ones are still hovering in that, you know, oversold area, and they're looking for a way to get out of that zone. So this is interesting, and these all might be charts that you might want to just pull up and get a better idea on what's going on. There may be no trades at all, but there could also be multiple trades in multiple time frames. Okay, knowing when to use the RSI scanner effectively. We're going to take a look at a few examples here, but first and foremost, just throwing it up, you have a very quick, clear look. RSI 8 time frames. This example was great the other day when I was putting the presentation together, because there were so many coins that breached 70 and were just hovering. You know, either they're making higher highs, above 70, dipping back for a pullback, and then coming in at 75, 78, 80. But it was all very, very, very interesting. What's good is, with the addition of the D3 move and the live Fibbo, you know that this particular trend was up, right? A 61% move up in 3 days, pull back close to 30%. So, you're not at the 382 yet, so you have some time to get there if that's the play. But you could see that the larger time frames are giving you that warning that, hey, we might be in for a little bit of a pushback. So a pullback here would be great. And a pullback to the 382, the 5, or the 618 would be even better. And that can give you opportunities to get in on a trade. So quickly see what coins are trending up in price, but sitting in overbought territory. And that's what we're looking at right here. Trend is going up. All right, but you're in overbought territory. So being in overbought territory, it tells you maybe you got a pullback coming. All right. Quick scalp and swing quick scalp and swing trades, right, with the trend, and you can play those on lower time frames. And I can't stress this enough. RSI is more effective within a trend. Counter trend trades are possible, yes, but they are inherently more risky. And I think I have an example I want to show you in just a second. And yes, you can see pullbacks and reversals. So let's take a look at this real quick. This is, we're going to see local trend can be exhausting, right? So at that point, you can either exit a current trade or look for pullbacks and reversals. So we're looking at MCO, BTC, and the trend is likely to reverse. The 3-day up is showing us 48% up with a 29% pullback. Overbought on all but the 30-minute and 1 hour. So if I see this and I see something similar to this, I'm going to pull the chart up because I want to see what's going on. So I did. I pulled the chart up and this is what we're looking at. So on the actual trend itself, yeah, we're headed slowly down, but mostly sideways when we get into this trading area. The RSI, however, has made itself, it's breached itself over 70. And as we can see, it did it on the 4-hour, the 6-hour, the 12, and the daily, not to mention the 5 and the 15. So in this situation here, we would be looking at a possible pullback. So we're waiting for the RSI now to sort of dictate when we cross back under 70. That could give us the indication that maybe it's time to start going short on this particular asset or exit my trade if I was long that whole time. So just one example of how, you see something similar to this, you might want to pull that chart up. Next, what if they're all red? Or what if they're mostly all red? All red except the 5. This is an interesting one because this also came at a time when information came out of. So FA was also part of it, but that's all represented right here. Every time frame except the 5-minute is showing you that it's just completely oversold. So the 5-minute is actually the only thing that's trending up. So what does that mean? This example shows MOD BTC oversold on every time frame with the exception of the 5-minute. So I pull up a chart. I find bullish divergence, first off right here, working on the lows for price and higher lows for RSI. So we have bullish divergence. So we can do, and we did find here temporary support, right, on a 1618. So you find that because you pull up the chart. You pull up the chart because this was interesting enough for you to spend some time on it. So you're looking at a possible quick scalp, nothing crazy here because obviously it's coming down. Hasn't reversed yet on any one of these time frames except the 5. So you could be looking at a quick scalp 4 to 7%. All right, next, in this one, I showed you what the price action scanner is also showing. So let me show you that real quick. If let's say we just did with storage right here. So I have storage. I'm going to go into the watch list. I'm going to say, all right, I'm focused right now on, well, I like this one because there's a lot happening. All right, so WPR ETH. All right, so I can say, all right, WPR ETH, that's great. It's in my watch list. Well, that works with price action. All right, so it's the same watch list. So how easy is that? So if I want to see what's going on as far as trend is concerned, and let's say I'm more concerned with the 1 day, then boom, I can do it just like that. Add it to the watch list, swing it over into price action, and now I can see what's shaking right here. All right, and I can see the market cap is 6 million, volume's at 170, and we do have volume over here. It's just represented a little differently. All right, so we have that, our up move, right, moving peak gains in D1 is only 0.99%, and of that we've lost 98%. So that's got me, that's got the juices flowing, right? So now I know the trend, I can go D1, I can go back to scanner, and I can say, wow, everything is completely oversold except the 5 minute. All right, very similar to the last example we just looked at. All right, and this is that is just not, this was a day or two ago, so obviously these are going to be a little bit different. Things have changed. This is when we were oversold in the 5 minutes. So just like the price action scanner, you check it, every morning, every evening, once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day. You get more familiar with it. This is the same deal, right? So you notice, all right, WPR ETH, everything is completely oversold. Throw it in my watch list. I'll wait for something to happen. And then sure enough, you look at it later on that night and hey, wait, the 5 is out of oversold. What does that tell me? That means there's buying going on the short-term time frames. So what do we got? A little write-up here. The example shows WPR ETH is trending down, but all time frames are showing oversold in this scenario. The price action scanner shows light ping from the 6 hour up, right, to the day. So I pull up a chart, and what we see is an area of support coming up. So that's this right here. This is long-term support that we drew on there once we opened the chart up and we started moving things around. Here's a little zoomed in picture of what we have going on. All right, so the idea would be to wait for the RSI scanner, right, to show up above 30 levels. So again, past the mark of oversold. And then you're looking for a quick play, this time pretty good because you're looking for the bounce off of support. And that's this guy right here. So if you are able to retrace up, let's say 236, that's 23%. If you were able to get it up to, let's say, the 786 or the previous structure high, not including this guy right here, but the actual structure high before that low, then you'd be looking at 75 to 78% gains. It's risky. Let me repeat that: risky counter trend trade. You are very much in a downtrend. Very much in a downtrend. Not so much on the longer term time frames. You're sideways with the bearish tone, but from the 5 minute to the 4 hour, you're in a downtrend. So any type of counter trend trade is always inherently more risky. Quick scalp and swings within the trend on lower time frames. And you can see pullbacks and reversals. So we kind of already spoke about that earlier, but this gives you the idea here. What we're looking at is the RSI has dipped below 30. So we're on our feet now. We're saying, okay, what's going on? Tell me more. Let me look at that chart. And what happened here was a little bit of a breakout. So you had your support from a trend line, brought that in, you broke the trend line, and now what you have here is a break in the 30. So we would be looking at, the possibility of coming back up. Now this is a 15-minute chart. Looking at the possibility of coming back up for this retest, also this support line. Now you'd have to watch it. It'd be a very short trade because we don't know if you flipped that trend line from support to resistance, or if you're going to break right through it and it's going to be no problem. So it's a very short trade. It's a scalp trade, but there's a little room there to do something. And this is, I guess this is now looking at the 30 minute. Okay, so that's the 15-minute chart, and this is the 30-minute chart. Again, it's the same deal because you're just past 30, right? You've just barely passed it. So that's the, wake up, open the chart, let's see what's going on here. Summary. All in all, the RSI scanner can be used to save time and help you as a trader to pull up charts that should be interesting, right? Instead of cycling through a watch list on TradingView or however you do it now for hours upon hours. Key setups. Look for good peak gain and trending in higher time frames. So you're in a bullish trend and you got a good peak gain, let's just say 25% or up, and you'll be looking on the RSI scanner, so you'll be looking at like a 3-day period. And you want to show oversold on smaller time frames, so 5 and 15-minute time frames. That's a pretty good setup to get in on a quick pullback in order to get an entry to continue to go long within that current trend. And it's just the opposite for coins that could be traded short. So if you're if you're on a leverage site and you could short that particular asset or that particular coin, then it would be just the opposite, okay? Remember, coins that trade on leverage, right, 3% quick scalps at 10x leverage is actually a 30% gain. And even smaller moves, but long and short on leverage coins can make for excellent gains. So you risk less of your capital, but you're able to increase your percentages more. Leverage is a very interesting concept and topic, and that's something we'll probably dive into a little deeper as time goes on. But just know that a 3% gain is not anything to be upset about. First off, it's a gain, and it's more than zero, and it's not a loss. So that's good in my book. Confluence with the price action scanner for what charts do definitely look interesting, and to spend the time to pull up and use your basic TA. I can't stress enough how much time you can save using these tools. That really is the biggest factor. All right, so hey, thanks for watching. I hope now you have a better understanding on how to use this module for the price action scanner, the RSI scanner. You could find the scanner at tradingroom.io, right where you see the price action scanner. Just to the right of it, which is this guy right here, you'll see RSI scanner. Okay, very easy. On Twitter, you can find Trading Room app for the latest information, new news that's coming out, new modules that's coming out, all that good stuff, and tweets of gold anyway. So it's a good idea. As for myself, on Twitter, I am ChingasX. Also on YouTube as ChingasX, BitTube, ChingasX, and Twitch, Chingas, but the X is in the middle. Don't worry about it. It's just a thing. All right, so I think we're gonna wrap that up. I think hopefully you should have a good idea on how to use this. I would like to let's pull up a couple live examples. So you can end the video if you would like, or hang out for another 5 minutes and let's pull up a few charts and let's just see what's shaking. All right, we'll do a completely off the cuff style teaching. How's that sound? All right, let's sort it in. Let's go to daily time frame. Right, I'm going to sort it out into what is looking overbought, what could be working its way back, and then I'll take a look at the D3 and the live fib. So if we're only up 10% in a 3-day period, and we're looking overbought, and we're only retraced 10% of that 10, I'm not going to waste my time on that just yet. If I do want to see what the trend looks like, I can easily add it to the watch list, head on over to price action, or I could just go to watch list and I could just find the pair, ETH BTC. All right, but that's not interesting enough for me to look at, so therefore I'm saving time. What do we got next? We have 32 up, 45% down, so creeping up on the 5. 32 up in 3 days is pretty good. We're showing we're just barely creeping into overbought. So this is worth taking a look because of this right here and this right here. Now that you've creeped into overbought, we're expecting to see that come down, some type of trend reversal. KMD BTC. All right, wow. So things have happened on this chart. We're just going to go ahead and do that real quick so we can get all that junk out of there. All right. So we are currently looking at, this is the 1 hour chart. Let me throw the daily up because that's where RSI was doing its thing. And what do we have? All right. So trend wise, we have a high, a higher high, and a higher high. And then we have a low, a higher low, and a higher low. Okay, so we know that daily we're working on an uptrend. So if we want to trade in the trend, we're going to want to go long. This situation is going to want to make us go short. So a counter trend trade, again, always be careful. Now, one thing you'll spot here, which is really cool, now that I've opened the chart, I can see that we have divergence. So as far as divergence is concerned, if you're looking at the highs, right? So if you have a higher high in price, right, but you got a lower high in RSI, that's bearish divergence. And so you would be looking for this to reverse course, right? Momentum is no longer with you. It might be time to go short if you can, although you can't short Komodo, or exit a trade where you were long. Let's say you were long from back over here or over here or even over here. You bought that pullback. Maybe it's time to get out of it. Maybe it's not going to do this whole thing up here. But at least in the short term, we would think it might be coming down. All right, so that's something to just at least consider. Know that that's an option. I'd like to... This chart is a disaster. All right, so let's just... You know, there were things... There were trades here. All right, so you know, don't get all mad at me for it. Let's just get rid of some stuff. No problem. We'll keep our ascending triangle because it's a thing of beauty. All right, but I would just come on this chart and I would do this. I would say, all right, this is happening right here, and then this is happening right here, and because this is showing you divergence, on top of that, let's take a look at this. Right, so far, that's a swing failure. So if you have a breach of 70, which you had over here, around 71.3, and let's just say we don't get any higher than that. Let's just say that's where it stops. That's 70.7. If this comes down, now that's already a swing failure, and the aggressive traders would go short the second we cross over under 70. All right. The other traders, the more conservative traders, would do this, right? And they'd say, all right, this was my pullback low from the first time I breached it. If I cross this line, I'm going in. That's my entry. So if it does this, then I'm going to enter right here. Oh, well, I didn't mean to make it that big. Okay, but that's just one of the many things you could do with RSI. But anyway, the idea is you're on the chart, right? The idea is that this chart looked interesting enough based off of the price action scanner coupled with the RSI scanner in order to get me onto that chart and look at it for any other reason. You know, who knows? I might have just slapped it on spacebar and it made it through the watch list, and then there I was. But this saves all that time and says, okay, this is something interesting. You might want to take a look at it. All right, so that's run through a couple examples. I didn't want to make this too long, and just can't stop talking. All right, so sorry about that, but it is what it is. So hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you learned how to use it effectively, different ways that you can apply it, different ways that you can look at it. That'll get you on the correct chart, and hopefully there's a trade there to be made. All right, so that being said, I will see you on the exchanges, and happy trading.